Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and I'm here to talk about the month of November. Something really big is about to explode this month. This is a month of great hostility, anger, and blow-ups that will affect the economy in a huge, big way, because something really big is about to happen. So with that, I'm going to go into this entire month and tell you about all the happenings and what's about to transition and change this month, because I know it is a big turning point this month for everyone. So let's get going. Now remember, I am a sidereal Vedic astrologer, which uses the sidereal zodiac, which is different than the tropical Western. And I'm going to be giving you all the degrees and placements of where the planets are this month, because we got some amazing events happening. Yes, we have got so many retrogrades and shifts and aspects that are going to change our lives this month for sure. Before I get going though, I definitely want to remind everyone, if you want all of this written out in a transcript, you're going to want to get my Galactic Center newsletter that is free every single month, and you'll get updates every week. And don't forget, if you want to know how all these planets are going to affect you personally, you're going to want my Galactic Planner. Try it out for a month. We have amazing new things that we're adding constantly. It's the best planner in the world. It will do your personal chart, give your predictions, and prepare you every day. So go to galacticplanner.com, and don't forget, if you want to join our spiritual community, talk with me every week live. You're going to want to be part of our Patreon group. That is all on my website, galacticcenter.org. And if you want to study with me, I have a university that teaches Vedic astrology. Become my student, learn astrology. So continuing on, let's talk about this particular month. As I said, there's going to be a lot of hostility, anger, and blow-ups this month. And I say that mainly because the aspect that stands out the most is probably that Mercury is going to turn retrograde. And as it does, it aligns with Mars, the planet of anger, violence, and war. But Mercury pretty much deals with our communication skills. So I see so many people in arguments, there's no peace, people are really not coming together. This is an incredible time for emotional disdain and passion that's put towards anger and disruption. So that's what I'm going to be talking about. Now, another thing that I think is so phenomenal about this month is that there is a grand water trine going on. And actually, it starts the very end of October. And actually, it's around the 27th, 28th of October that we have Mars that will go into Scorpio. And when it does, it's going to trigger a grand water trine with Jupiter and Saturn. Because basically, about the whole month of November, we have both Saturn and Jupiter pretty much stationing, in other words, hardly moving at all, because they're changing directions. And here's the deal, Jupiter will turn retrograde November 11th, and it will be standing still at 0 degrees of Cancer. This is a very powerful position for Jupiter, as that's its exaltation sign. It is so powerful because that degree marking puts it for Gautama in the Navamsha But aside from that, just realize this is all powerful. Now, Jupiter being in Cancer is powerful. Why? Because it deals with spirituality and it's Jupiter's exaltation sign. So people are waking up to a more spiritual world, becoming more passionate about their spirituality, and there's an appreciation more for family. Therefore, you're going to see the housing markets open up as well this month. Jupiter will actually temporarily be in Cancer, and this will begin October 18th and last till December 5th. And then it'll retrograde back into the sign of Gemini, where it will remain till June 1st. So actually, during this Jupiter-Saturn trinal aspect, but Jupiter being in Cancer, we're getting a sneak preview of what's to come by next June, July, and August, which I feel is going to be a wonderful time. Things are going to heal. People are coming together. This is what we might get a little sneak preview, but here's what I think. All the arguing, all the anger, hostility is surfacing things that have to come out and be processed so that we can come to a place of peace, which I am predicting will happen just this month. It's going to be quite, well, I guess you could say violent in the way that people are conversing with one another. There is no peace with Mars being with Mercury, and Mercury turns retrograde. As a matter of fact, Mercury will turn retrograde November 9th, and it will turn direct by November 29th. So within the entire month of November, we have Mercury pretty much retrograde. And you know what I say about Mercury retrograde. Now, it's going to be in Scorpio, and when it does turn retrograde, it is aligned with Mars. As a matter of fact, it will conjunct Mars. Mercury and Mars will conjunct a number of 3 times, but in November, it's going to conjunct Mars in Scorpio. And Scorpio is the sign of passion. Mars picks up enormous strength in the sign of Scorpio. It rules Scorpio in the traditional Vedic system, which makes it incredibly strong and powerful. So this is very important to know that this Mercury-Mars kind of hang out together, basically most of this month, creating contention, arguments, and fights. But remember what I say about Mercury retrograde. It always brings out something from before, something that needs to be processed and brought to completion. And this will happen basically within sorting things out, but not without fights and contention. Mercury also rules travel, and I happen to realize that in the United States, November is a big travel month because of Thanksgiving being towards the end of the month. And with Mercury and Mars lining up together, trust me, travel plans will go haywire. There's going to be so much going on with computer systems and too many people in airports. It's going to be mass chaos. So watch and be careful. Make your plans accordingly. And I'm not saying don't travel. I'm just saying remember that there's going to be lots of delays, so bring some books, bring some entertainment. There's going to be issues around travel, but we all have to get somewhere, and that's going to be contentious. Yes, it is. So going back to this triggering event around the end of October when Mars hits 0 degrees of Scorpio. Mars will be going into Scorpio from October 27th, and that's where it hits 0 degrees of Scorpio. But it will be in Scorpio from October 27th through December 7th. And here's the thing, when Mars hits at 0 degrees, it triggers Saturn at 0 degrees, 1 degree of Pisces, and Jupiter at 0 degrees of Cancer. This grand trine in water signs is going to make a big change. It's like this is a big trigger. It's going to affect, I must say, the economy. Yes, the economy. It is going to be so incredibly volatile. But in the end, I do see some major shifts in wealth and money. And this will be pretty much what could cause some major shifts in wealth in the United States, because there's so much happening and unexpectedly. So let me get going with some of these dates here. Now, as I said, when Mars, this triggering planet, the end of October through early November, this is where emotions run high, and the triggering force of Mars creates havoc. So, but what I did was I went back to try to figure out when was the last time something like this happened. Because in astrology, as an astrologer, we must do our research and determine when it happened before, because we'll get a similar effect. Now, never is there a completely exact configuration in the sky, but the closest thing I could come up with was the time that we had Mars in Pisces, Jupiter in Scorpio, and Saturn in Cancer filling in this grand water trine. And this happened in the year of 2007. Actually, it was the month of June of 2007 that they all created this grand water trine. And get this, June of 2007 was when the first iPhone came out. Now, there's been so much talk about AI, but this is the month it really blows up. And let me say this, remember how I started out this talk today? And what I was wanting to really extend in a big proportion is that this is a huge time. Something big is happening. This is a big turning point, and it deals with definitely AI. This is the beginning of it. We really pretty much have known this is coming, this is going, but here is where it all starts to explode in a big way. Companies, organizations that are using AI stocks, they're going to explode and they're going to go sky high. I see the stock market going up and down, but basically it's going to really rev up. And yes, there's going to be a completely different distribution of money in this world. There are going to be richer billionaires around. And this is something we can't stop. It's happening and it's going, and you know, look and see how you can be a part of it if this is feasible, because it is going to happen, and this is the beginning. Because remember the beginning of the iPhone, that changed our lives. This is going to change our lives. And there's always a negative, but there's always a positive. So look to these positive ways that it can benefit you. That's what I say. And looking at this also, I want to talk about how technological advances are really going to change our world. And I believe there's going to be a lot with healing in health. You're going to see this year lots of new directions in health and healing and advancement, healing diseases. This is going to be a beautiful time for this. Now, remember, Mercury retrograde brings back things before. So many of the court cases or people or things that people were angry about, this is all going to come up for judgment. People are really tired of this anger and judgment. Things are going to come about. To heal this, it has to be healed. All of the violence in the war, things are really kicking in for some new revelations talking about this healing. Now, another thing is that I see happening, and this is going to be around the time of the full moon, which happens around November 5th. And during this time of this full moon, November 4th, the day before, Uranus is going to be opposing Mars. And this may have a lot to do with earthquakes. Because remember, Uranus is sudden, unexpected events. And when we talk about Mars, Mars is a trigger of events. And I kind of see that November, December could be the time that there's a serious, serious earthquake in Japan. I know Japan gets a lot of earthquakes. And I know there was like a psychic that said the earthquakes were going to happen in July. And I saw some reason for that prediction. But I actually even said in that prediction that I saw November, particularly December, the time when earthquakes would be more probable and serious for Japan. Now, this goes for all over the world. Of course, we're talking about the whole area of the Ring of Fire. Earthquakes will be heating up. Things will be happening. Volcanic eruptions. This is going to be early November, but particularly the first, like around the 4th, and when we have the full moon, which is November 5th. But I also see some other things happening around this time that are very interesting and important. And it is that Rahu will be around 22 degrees of Aquarius. And while it's there, I noticed it will be in an exact trine to the sun of the United States chart that I use at 22 degrees of Gemini. And Rahu's always expansion. Big things happening in the world, but in the United States, I'm seeing the stock market expand like crazy. But yes, it's going to be going down and up, but ultimately stay up by next June, July, and August. So mark this to see the volatility and the craziness that's going on this month with finances, money, and stocks. It's going to be amazing. But there is a serious divide going on in the United States. It's almost like, well, not quite, but it's almost like a civil war going on in the United States. And particularly this month, it's going to really get serious. And I see this big distribution of money and finances in the United States, shifting from the old places of money to new places of money. A big shift is happening this month, a serious divide you're going to see. And you know, the last time that Neptune was actually in Pisces was around the time of the Civil War. So Neptune's going to be in Pisces for some time here. And remember, I'm talking sidereal astrology. But the discord around the distribution of money and political rebellion is serious this month. And that's going to be what the talks are going to be about money distribution and the big changes from certain states to certain states. Massive, mass exodus in some ways. So another thing, as I said, Mars was going to trigger this point where it sets off a grand water trine around the end of October. But what I didn't talk about is that Mercury in its retrograde process goes back and forth with that 0 degree mark, and it's going to trigger the Saturn-Jupiter. So Mercury hits the point where this grand water trine is set off as well, because it's going to go back and forth in its retrograde process. So the first time that Mercury hits that 0 degrees of Scorpio is going to be October 24th. And the second time will be November 23rd. And the third time will be December 7th. All of these times will be critical in terms of the evolution of us coming together, talking things out, and finding a way to peace in so many ways, in so many levels. Now, Mercury is retrograde, and another thing it's going to do is it's going to be conjuncting Mars 3 times. And let me give you all 3, if I haven't given you this before, that Mars and Mercury collide. And that's because of the retrograde. The first is October 20th, the second is November 12th, and the last one will be January 18th. The first one, October 20th, is in Libra. The November 12th is in Scorpio. And the last, January 18th, is in Capricorn. The Scorpio one is the most intense. Why? Because Mars rules Scorpio. There's so much hostility and passion involved in this. This is like blow-ups of people being so angry and can't come together. But here's another thing that adds fuel to this fire. And that is that Mars and the Sun are coming together. Now, this happens every 2 years, that Mars comes together with the Sun, but every 2 years it does increase anger and warlike people in the world. And they will finally conjunct, by the way, at 25 degrees of Sagittarius. And this will happen the first week of January. So look out, there is going to be a big blow up at that time. But here's the thing, when Mars comes into the same sign as the Sun, they kind of travel together for about 5 months. It's the end of October through the end of March that they will be in the same signs, but they finally collide and exactly conjunct the first week of January. So there's all this hostility still brewing and growing. It's got to surface and come to a head. That's what is going on. So as I keep saying, the stock market's soaring and people are going really pretty nuts about it all. And there's possibilities of earthquakes. So here is what I want to say that we're all going to be coming to, and especially since I love Jupiter being in the sign of Cancer because it brings people together. It is exalted in Cancer, so it brings out the best of Jupiter. And while it's trining Saturn, there's many opportunities for growth and spirituality. And that's my most important lesson that I want to teach the world, that we are here to grow on a spiritual level. That's what life is all about, regardless what you think and what you get caught up in. Politics or money or any of that. It's not important. And what I think is being brought out is that now is the time, while Jupiter's in Cancer, to recognize the importance of the people we love in our life. And I mean this sincerely. And here is where my thoughts are going with this. This month of November, I am going to reach a milestone birthday. It is huge. And it made me really start thinking about my life, what it's all about. Why am I here? What's my purpose? And the main thing that really struck me is that my entire life has really basically been what it is based on the people in my life. My friends, my clients, my family, and talking about my family, my incredible 3 sons and my devoted husband. I mean, I have a lot to be grateful for. And I want you to look and see, what is it that you're grateful for? Because I guarantee you, your life cannot be what it is, the joy, the happiness, the fun we've all had, without the people in your life. Our friends, our family, our loved ones are the most important thing that makes our life what it is in all of our experiences, who we are, even what we do in our jobs, the people we meet, we become friends with through our jobs, through our career, through our work, and most of all, travels with family, all the good times, the fun I've had in this life has been amazing, and I can attribute that all to my family, my friends, my students, my clients. It's what's made my life so full of joy and happiness. And you have to recognize that that is part of what your life is all about. The joy and happiness that the people that you love and you've connected with throughout your life. Maybe you don't stay friends forever, but there are so many people have touched our lives. I have to say, I have had so many people touch my heart and that I love. Throughout my life, it made my life what it is. And you have to do that too. Now is the time to come together with the love of family. I always say one of my greatest accomplishments in this world is the University of Vedic Astrology, but I always put a correction after that because my greatest accomplishment in this world is my 3 sons. And my husband, we have had so much fun traveling the world, teaching astrology, being part of this beautiful, magnificent world. And family, friends have made my life what it is. I want you to take the time to recognize everyone in your life that made your life full of joy, happiness, and full of love. If you do this month, it will counteract all of the anger and disputes that are coming about. And that's the lesson we all have to learn. This world is amazing, but it's amazing due to all of our relationships with the people we love. So with that, I think I'll close. If you would like to learn more about me, if you want a reading, if you want to know about my galactic planner and my fabulous community, which is my Patreon group, go to galacticcenter.org. And if you want to join my school and become my student, become an astrologer, go to universityofvedicastrology.com. Thank you.